Hi y'all, it's me, the Jaguar, and welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Confessions of a Successful Looking Artist. That would be me. So, someone on the $10 survey for Patreon asked me a really fascinating question about how do I make my aesthetic choices as a writer, which is cool because no one's ever wanted to know that before. And they gave me some samples of questions they thought would be interesting to have answered. And the first one was, did you make the Emperor black as a symbolic contrast to Lysanther, who is white, sort of a good versus evil thing? So, to answer that, I need to explain first why the Eldritch are white. So, when you have universes with 25 plus years of continuity, you often find yourself confronted with decisions that present you wishes past you had maybe done a little differently. The physical presentation of the Eldritch was one of those decisions. It's because they are one of the oldest species I ever developed for the Alliance. So, the Eldritch are white because teenage me had a crush on Elric of Melnibone. Now, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, Elric was an anti-hero written by Michael Moorcock in the 1970s, and he was dramatic and angsty and brooding, and he had a magic sword that talked to him and was driving him slowly crazy, and all the girls who ever fell in love with him died tragically. And it was really, really, really compelling to 15-year-old me, who was convinced that she would be the one to rescue him, because of course she would. And probably by dying tragically, because I guess when I was 15 I thought that was super romantic, being a martyr and stuff. But teenage me, very dramatic. Anyway, I could have thrown out that decision, but by the time it occurred to me to question my motivations, the visuals were already super entrenched in my head. The Eldritch were supposed to be white, with white hair and light eyes. So I decided to run with it, I guess. Not only that, but to really think about the ramifications of that decision, which is what leads to some interesting comments like Setagrills and Girl on Fire about how all the Eldritch look the same and how boring it is, and how she longs to see something different than like a race of clones. Also, it led me to questions like, how or why do they all look the same? Is it genetics? Is it inbreeding? Why did that happen? And those answers were interesting answers, so that was kind of cool. So in essence, I made my peace with Teenage Jaguar's weirdo decision and decided that instead of tossing it, I would take it to the logical end. And I think that led me to more interesting places than maybe I would have ended up if I had been making that decision as Mom Jaguar, old enough to be Teenage Jaguar's mom, who thinks far more practically than she did. So I think that's pretty cool. So that brings us to the Emperor. I'd like to say there was some great thought put into symbolism for him in terms of his coloring, but he's basically dark because I wanted him to be scary, and things that can hide in shadows and pop out of you with claws and teeth and stuff is pretty scary. So I wanted him to be the menacing unknown. But by the time I made that decision, I was a little more self-aware. So in addition to making him menacing by making him dark enough to blend into the shadows of the night, I also made the Chatcaavan wee. I think someone called them wing snakes once, which was horribly offensive to them because it makes them sound cute. But I wanted that sense of contrast. These are horrible, amoral, dangerous predators, but they're not like dragons of legend. They don't intimidate people by being enormous and powerful. They're small and graceful and have hollow bones like birds and move like snakes, and the Emperor himself is maybe 5.5 feet tall. He's not really very physically intimidating. It's all presence and that sense of quickness, I guess. And then the narrator kind of shot that in the foot by giving the Emperor this enormo doom voice, like he sounds like he's the size of an aircraft carrier.
I thought the Alliance soft enough. The discovery that there are softer creatures that are still sapient is a revelation.
I kind of laughed about that, but, you know, yeah, it sounds good, so we'll go with it. I guess giant voices can come out of tiny rib cages if you have a big enough set of vocal cords. So anyway, the truth is, no, I did not make the Emperor black as a symbolic evil contrast to the good guy Lysanthir, who is lightly colored. Both of their colorations are accidents of character decisions I made long before I threw them together. Of course, once they started fighting one another, mostly unclothed, the artist in me started thinking, well, that's either really striking or really cliche, but it's kind of cool looking. I guess I will jump that bridge or burn it when HBO contacts me about the miniseries. So that's the first answer to the list of aesthetic questions, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please do not fail to tease me about Elric. I can take it. This is the Jaguar signing off. Thanks for listening and for being a patron. I really appreciate it. See you later.